According to a police survey, most Iranians feel pretty safe. The survey asked people, do you feel secure walking in the street at night? 87% of men and 61% of women said they did. Based on the results, which were released in September, Iran ranks 32nd in feeling secure at night out of 143 countries. Iran is a country located in the Middle East, which at the moment is an unstable region. Iran is surrounded by Iraq to the west and Afghanistan and Pakistan to the east, countries in which terrorist attacks and drug trafficking are rife. In October, 14 Iranian border guards were killed in the border city of Saravan in the country's southeastern province of Sistan-Balochistan. Despite all this, the level of security in Iran is high. Security is a top priority for all governments because it is the cornerstone of development in a country. Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, the government has made huge efforts to provide security for all Iranians. A diversity of ethnic and religious minorities can be considered a potential threat to providing security, so Iran's government tries to encourage integration. The government has launched a lot of development projects in deprived areas, especially in border cities, to give residents a better standard of living. And the Iranian police force has also done what it can to provide security on city streets and prevent drug trafficking along the country's borders. Security is a multifaceted term related to all areas of human life on the planet. While security is physically tangible when it comes to crime rates in any given neighborhood, it has a psychological aspect as well. How do people react to potential risks?
Different fields of study offer various definitions of security. Generally, security is defined as a condition in which there is no threat. Where there is no threat, there is security, that you feel safe and secure. So secure is defined with the word threat.
Iran is located in the Middle East, which is a politically unstable region. Some of Iran's neighboring countries, including Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iraq, are frequent victims of terrorism. The figures show security is up in Iran, though, in relation to its neighbors and even more developed nations.
If you look at the geography of Iran, most of its neighboring countries are insecure and unstable. There are various sectarian, tribal and religious conflicts, as well as coups and weak central governments in the east of Iran, in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Also, in the west of the country, in Iraq, you see the consequences of a decade of war. Consequently, we can claim that Iran is a country with several unstable neighbors, but a stable country itself.
Border security is of paramount importance to Iran because its borders are very long and shared with war-torn, unstable nations. For decades, Iran's government has worked hard to protect its borders, and one way it's done that has been to support development projects in border cities.
Deprivation in border regions is partly due to the wrong policies in the previous regime. Before the Islamic Revolution, nobody from these regions became top officials in the capital. People also could not contact the officials. Now the condition is different. Currently, all people from distant villages are able to contact the officials and talk to them about their problems.
In recent years, people living in southeast and western border cities have been victims of a number of terrorist attacks. One of these terrorist groups was Abdul Malik Rigi's group, which claimed to defend the national and religious rights of the Sunni and Baluch people in Sistan-Balochistan province. Scores of innocent people have been killed and maimed by the bombings this group claims responsibility for.
Many underprivileged people in Balochistan province, as well as some people from Baluch ethnicity, have been killed by the terrorists who claim to defend Baluchi people. If they claim to defend Baluch ethnicity and fight the segregation against them, why do they kill Baluch people? It makes no difference for them. They are traitors to their country. They are working for the enemies. They believe in nothing. They are not Muslim because Muslims are not allowed to kill innocent people.
Observers believe that the terrorist groups in Sistan-Balochistan province are Salafi extremists. Salafi terrorists are linked to the Al-Qaeda network and have committed countless acts of violence not only against innocent Shia Muslims but against Sunni Muslims who oppose their views.
What they do is not rooted in Sunni teachings. They believe in extremist thoughts, that is Salafi beliefs. Salafis infiltrated into Shiite communities in the region to harm them. They kill and maim people in Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan. All terrorist groups in these countries are linked to Salafism.
One of these extremist groups, the Jaish al-Adl, carried out a terror attack by infiltrating Iran's eastern borders from Pakistan near the city of Saravan. 17 Iranian border guards lost their lives and 6 others were wounded in the attack.
This terrorist group has been formed by the US, Israel and their allies in the region. They used to be in the Rigi's group. They are very few. If Pakistan's government cooperates with us, we can completely destroy them. Some members of this group, as far as I know, are not Iranian. They are from Pakistan. Why should Pakistani terrorists fight against the Islamic Republic?
In February, Iran and Pakistan signed a security agreement via which both countries are obliged to cooperate in preventing and combating organized crime, fighting terrorism, and countering activities which pose a threat to the national security of either country.
Regarding the incidents in Sistan-Balochistan, especially in the border city of Saravan, the Parliament's National Security Committee decided to discuss and ratify the security agreement between Iran and Pakistan in order that we can get more help from the Pakistani government.
However, observers say security measures along this shared border are being carried out predominantly by Iranian border guards.
When we look at our eastern border regions, we find that Iran guards the border without its neighbors' help. We call our southeast borders open borders. Our neighboring countries are not able to provide security at these borders, so we are alone in controlling these border regions.
One of the biggest threats every nation faces besides terrorism and extremism is drug trafficking, and none more than Iran, which is flanked by the biggest drug-producing nation in the world, Afghanistan and Pakistan. It's become the main transit route for drugs going from these countries to Europe. That means a lot of patrolling along the 900-kilometer border with Afghanistan, the world's largest opium producer.
Afghanistan, the biggest producer of narcotic drugs in the world, is our neighboring country. 30% of the drugs produced in Afghanistan are smuggled into Iran to be used inside the country or in Western countries. Drug dealers earn hefty profits from drug trafficking, so it's really lucrative for them to smuggle drugs from Afghanistan to Europe and America via Iran.
Since March 2013, Iran's counter-narcotics police have managed to confiscate over 215 tons of drugs, including opium, hashish and heroin. In recent years, the production of narcotics and drug smuggling has risen horrifically since the US-led invasion of the country in 2001.
In 2001, 187 tons of opium was produced in Afghanistan. In 2008, its production amounted to over 8,200 tons, that is 41 times more. Although over 40 countries participated in the war against terrorism in Afghanistan, including the NATO and ISAF, the production of opium increased drastically. When we asked them why they did not fight drug trafficking, they responded it was not on their mandates.
The war on drugs has claimed the lives of nearly 4,000 Iranian police officers over the past 34 years. The Iranian government has spent more than $700 million on border security, digging canals, building barriers and putting down barbed wire. All this is aimed at preventing drugs destined for European, Arab and Central Asian countries from passing through Iran, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. In recent years, Iran has not received any help in fighting drug trafficking.
Our
spending for fighting drug trafficking is for the sake of all humanity, not just Iranians. Our security forces, especially border guards, are martyred in order that the youth in our other countries of the world become immune from illicit drugs. We are bearing all the costs. This is at the time that Western countries stopped their help. Iran is at the front line of fighting against drug trafficking.
Drug addiction is threatening Iranian families. Anti-narcotics police have their hands full. Every year, hundreds of tons of illegal drugs are seized across the country and destroyed by the police. Moreover, in recent years, more than 500,000 people have been treated and rehabilitated.
There are about 1,325,000 people in Iran who are addicted to drugs. Consequently, a large number of families are involved with addiction. Their problems are huge. Most of these addicts do not work. They are not in production anymore. In order to deal with the problem, we have to try more. This is a threat to our security.
One of the key elements of security is respecting the rights of minorities, which is crucial when it comes to national security and stability. In Iran, there are various ethnic and religious groups with different languages that are living together while practicing those religions and speaking their own languages. The official religion of Iran is Islam and the Twelver Jafari school. Other Islamic schools, including the Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali and Zaydi, are respected too, and their followers are free to perform their religious rites. Zoroastrian, Jewish and Christian Iranians are recognized religious minorities who, within the framework of the law, are free to perform their religious rites and ceremonies.
Believers of the minority religions, which are recognized in the Constitution, are in equal civil positions with other citizens. There are some small legal problems regarding the minorities, but in general, there is no limitation. There is no problem for minorities in the employment system, social activity, investment, and universities.
Iranian minorities themselves emphasize the role of Iran's culture and civilization in creating a community in which people live together harmoniously and recognize how they have benefited from their differences throughout history.
If we look at the policies toward the minorities after the Islamic Revolution, the government's policies have been improved. Iranian people are interested and also respect cultural diversities. Consequently, the government respects minorities and places premium on them.
Over 98% of Iranians are Muslim, so Iran's government is based on Islamic Sharia. The government and the majority of Muslims have a healthy respect for minorities, which is part of Islamic teachings.
Iranian people respect minorities because of their religious views. It is for centuries that people and governments in Iran keep to Imam Ali's teachings that minorities should be respected. It is suggested that people should live with minorities in peace and also have cultural interactions with them.
The largest Iranian minority group is the Christians. Since the Islamic Revolution, Iranian Armenians have been very influential in the country's history. Many of them fought and died for their country during the Iran-Iraq War. Preserving a minority's cultural heritage is very important, and preserving the cultural heritage of the Iranian Armenians has been among the Islamic Republic's top cultural priorities.
There are about 280 churches just for Iranian Armenians. Assyrians have also their own churches. We have our own schools in different grades. There are graduate schools in which Armenian literature and language is being taught. All these show that Iranian Armenians are living in a normal situation in the country.
Christianity is a recognized religion in Iran, so naturally there are many churches for Iranian Christians. Nevertheless, some Western countries accuse Iran of violence against Christians.
Such human rights groups issue reports which are really shocking for me. They talk about systematic violence against Christians, Armenian community or Assyrians in Iran, for example. I really don't know where and when this violence has occurred. There may be some problems which are interpersonal between two persons, but there has never been any systematic violence against minorities in Iran.
For roughly every 150,000 Iranians, there is a representative in parliament. The population of each of Iran's minorities is less than 150,000, but there are 2 seats for the Armenian community and 1 for each other minority, including the Assyrians, the Jews, and the Zoroastrians.
The parliament is an assembly of all kinds of people in Iran, including all ethnicities and cultures, who take part in the process of lawmaking. The parliament is predictive of providing security, integrity, and national interactions, since representatives of different minorities come together and get acquainted with their problems. Their participation in lawmaking increases their political participation in the country. In return, we have the implications of such participation for minority communities and groups who feel safe and secure in the country.
Street harassment is a prevalent problem in many societies. For example, according to statistics, 1 in 5 French women have been harassed on the street. Therefore, creating safer streets for people, especially women, and curbing street crime are top priorities for every government. Iran Today went to the streets of Tehran to ask people how safe they feel going about their city.
The Islamic Republic's most important strength point is providing security for its people.
In my opinion, the country is fully secure and safe. My daughter comes home after midnight without any problem. When we see the police in the street, we feel secure.
We have social security in the country due to the measures taken in recent years.
Security in Iran is at a satisfying level. There are economic and social problems, but people are satisfied in this regard.
Actually, I completely feel secure. I have no problem any time in the day.
There is violence in our neighboring countries. Thank God we have no problem in our country.
When we visit the shrine in Qom, there is no security check. This makes me feel secure.
I relatively feel secure and safe.
When the administration talks about respect and dignity, we are hopeful of our future and feel secure.
I came here to see a doctor. I feel secure here in Tehran and in my own town.
I assure you that any person, including children, young people and women, can commute in Tehran and other cities and villages streets without any problem. In all parts of Iran, people feel safe and secure without any threat or trouble. The real problem, I think, is the distorted image of Iran in Western media. They try to show that Iranian society is violent and terrifying.
Iran's government provides security for tourists traveling in Iran. The police tourism department is dedicated to making sure foreigners feel safe inside the country. Iranian civilians help them with this, offering foreigners assistance and hospitality whenever they can.
In recent years, there has been no significant problem or issue regarding the tourist security in Iran. None of the tourists who visited the country had any security problem. Both the government and people cooperate with each other to provide security for tourists. I hope we will have more tourists coming to Iran in the next years.
When it comes to security, the economy is a key factor. Economic problems and huge gaps between social classes are potential threats to social stability that can cause unrest and violence.
There
is not a wide gap between social classes in Iran as it exists in some countries. At least it is not apparent in our country. There are not special neighbourhoods for particular social classes. Different people from different classes can live in the same neighbourhood. There are not manifestations of social groups between classes in our streets which show poverty in the society as it is prevalent in some other countries.
Iran has been coping with tough economic sanctions imposed on it by the US and EU countries on the pretext of its nuclear energy program, which they say is a clandestine nuclear weapons program. The sanctions have aggravated already existing economic problems in the country, depreciating the national currency and increasing inflation rates. Western officials have said on various occasions that they are using sanctions to pressure the government by causing unrest in the Iranian society. Subsidy reform has caused a drastic rise in prices, especially the prices of fuel and food, as well as an increase in unemployment. But these problems have not led to social unrest.
The subsidy reform plan was not implemented correctly and caused some economic problems for us. Social problems after the plan are normal. It is usual that whenever there is economic problem, there is social problem. However, instead of all economic pressures, if we compare Iran with other countries, we are in far better condition.
The media plays a crucial role in creating integrity and solidarity among people. That's why it's a very useful and much exploited tool when it comes to providing national security or countering threats.
In developed or democratic societies, there is a diversity of voices. This diversity, however, should live in an integrated system which results in national unity. Here, media play a crucial role. They actually modulate the relation between unity and diversity, as well as the relation between social strength and tolerance. All these are for creating national integrity, increasing security, and consequently developing the country.
Western media, along with Western governments, have been very active in trying to rally public opinion inside and outside Iran against the government, and portray Iran as an insecure state for both nationals and foreigners.
In our
country, security is at an acceptable level. Meanwhile, media can induce the public to think there is no security. For example, physically there is security in a society, but psychologically there is no security. Many Western media are presenting Iran as an insecure country, so our media should try hard to remove this false sense of insecurity.
There are various security forces in Iran responsible for guaranteeing security for citizens, and the parliament too is one of the key bodies providing security. the parliament also supervises the implementation of laws in the country, including laws which enforce security in society.
In my opinion, our laws to a great extent protect people's security, but we should carefully monitor the implementation of these laws. I think the Parliament should be given more authority for monitoring the implementation of the laws.
To tighten security, Iran's Majlis National Security Committee investigates and controls the work of security forces. Since the Islamic Revolution, Western media outlets have tried to demonize Iran and portray it as a country lacking in security. Because of this, foreigners traveling to Iran often find themselves witnessing a society very different from what they expected. Like many other countries in the world, Iran does have security challenges, but when asked, most people visiting say Iran is nothing like what they had imagined, and although reticent at first about coming to the nation branded many negative things by Western media, they wouldn't mind visiting it again.